Once a year, we gather together to celebrate Rudi's Samadhi, the day of his passing. Some people call it the final liberation, the moment where we move beyond our physical body, something every one of us is going to do. And supposedly, on some level, this meditation that he taught us is a practice. It's a practice for finally letting go. And if you really do sit quietly and deeply on a daily basis, you really begin to experience this sense of unbodied consciousness, this sense of I am something beyond my physical self. And it's an extraordinary quality of being, this comfort that one feels drawing within and looking for the source of joy and nourishment internally rather than through things beyond you and outside of you. So many of us look to our joy from the teacher, from the people in our lives, from the food we eat, from the things we drink, from a good night's sleep. We look for all of these things to give us joy, and Rudi's direction from day one was what you're looking for is inside. And the only way to find what you're looking for is to go inside, and as he would teach us, to sit still, to really deepen your sense of immersion in your open-heartedness and discover this incredible, welcoming, loving force that is inside you and is in some ways the essence of you. This is not a new teaching. The world is full of teachers and people trying to espouse this understanding, and each one of us is trying to make our way into this place of acceptance, openness, embrace, love, consciousness, compassion that's inside us. We're all trying to do that. And it can't be done on a occasional, once-a-week basis or once-a-month basis or sitting on your deathbed. It's a practice. Rudi called it a muscle. And you have to begin to develop this muscle that will open you to what is. Open you to yourself, open you to love, open you to existence, to being, to the possibility of being free of your bodily form. And at some moment, and often it'll be like that, as it was with Rudi, it's just done. He would say endlessly, life turns on a dime, and his life did turn on a dime. And every one of us has to be aware of that reality, and that you can't really put off this discovery of who you are until the last millisecond of your life, at which point it will dawn on you with unbelievable shock and power that you are this vastness that you have always been, and for some reason didn't realize during the whole course of your life. It's a shocking revelation, and the worst part of it is you get to the end of your life and you realize you missed it all. You missed it. Rudi didn't want us to miss anything. He wanted us to show up, to be present, to be in the moment. And one of the incredible things about Rudi was that he understood that this physical life we're all living is our spiritual life. They're not separate. They're not a spiritual life and a material life. They are one whole thing. And he really reached for and tried to guide all of us into a way of having what he called a full life, to become a whole person. And he gave us this wonderful diagnostic system, which wasn't his, it's ancient history, but it's the chakra system. And he was able to teach us when we are open-minded, open-hearted, open in our will to serve the world and to serve ourselves. He helped us really understand the connection of our being to something greater. And he said, this work is a life's work, and it's to be done every day, 30 minutes a day. You don't have to sit in a monastic life and do it 20 hours a day. You don't need to do that. That can actually be counterproductive. People overtrain, you know. This is whatever you need every day. Connect to who you are, and the connection to who you are is found in stillness, sitting still. It's the absolute opposite of everything we seem to want to think we need to do in life. Somehow it's all about busyness and engagement. Give me another cup of coffee, another Diet Coke, whatever the thing is you keep imbibing to keep going and doing and achieving and having and all that stuff in the world, and it ends up giving you nothing except old age and ultimately goodbye. If you want to know what this journey is and what it's about and where you're headed and how it's going, pay attention to where you are. Not to some future idea of it, but to this very second. This second has all the answers. Every second has what you need for it to deliver totality to you. This is an imprint of totality. If you're not getting the message, it's because you're not in the moment. It's because you're somewhere in the future thinking about what you want to get to, or you're dragging along all the impressions of the past that are making you crazy. What you have to do is find your way right here now. The only way to do it is to be still. Or as Rudi would say, take a breath. Ask for help to surrender. What does it mean to ask for help to surrender? It means, one, you don't know how to do it by yourself, so help is on the way. Help is available at any moment. And surrender is to let go of you, to let go of this drama, to just be still. The entire drama resolves itself into a complete still simplicity when you're not in the past and the future. The great security of life, the great comfort of life is in the present tense. If you bring the old crap of your story into this moment, then it gets all polluted. If you worry about the future, it gets polluted. But if you sit really still in the moment, there's no pollution. It's really quiet. It's simple, it's pure, it's available, it's there, it takes you in. I talk about that a lot. The welcoming nature of your own stillness, of your own silence. It says, come on in. It opens the door, it invites you in. Like I've said to many people, it provides an easy chair, it has a fire going in the fireplace. You get to sit in this unbelievable comfort that is your own inner being. All of you find it in the middle of the night. Every one of you, when you goes to sleep, you go to sleep in the middle of the night, and some of you even falling asleep. Some of you fall asleep more readily than others. But falling asleep is this, take me, giving yourself over to this place that you go to mostly with a lack of consciousness. You let go of your conscious mind, and this thing embraces you. This beautiful journey inward can be done with your eyes open and awake. It's an extraordinary thing. And that's what meditation is. It's, in a sense, going to sleep awake, going into your own still-pointedness, your depth, your own richness of being with your eyes open and going, because it's the most wonderful and full of wonder state you can imagine. You would really prefer it, I know you would prefer it, with your eyes open. Going there with your eyes closed is fine. It comforts us at night. You know, I was walking by a group of a homeless shelter the other day, and all these people were sleeping in their tents, not a homeless shelter, tents on this under a bridge in Washington, D.C. just 2 days ago. And it was like a block and a half long, and tents and every kind of creation. And I could tell the people who were sleeping inside were as comfortable and happy as you are. When they wake up, it's a different story when they have to come out into the cold. But every one of us is given this place of enormous repose inside, even in the worst of lives. That space that you can go to in the depth of your dreamscape is available to you in your waking moment. You can walk around in life and go, thank you, because everything is a reinforcement of a shocking reality, a shocking beauty, a shocking, joyful reality that you exist in. And if you keep your mind out of it, if you keep your fears and worries and old stories out of it, the reality of this moment is spectacular. Over and over, spectacular. and you get to see it without having to interpret it. You get to see it without having to say, oh, I've seen that before, or oh, that again. That goes away. There is no that again, because every time it arises, it's completely new. It's completely different. You don't know it's different because your mind is trying to play with it and say, oh yeah, I've been on this street before. No, you haven't. You've never been on this street before. You may think you are, and there are certain sort of familiar sights that you kind of label as, oh, this. But when you really get quiet, it's like, oh my God, I never saw this before. It's really new. It has what I talked about a week or so ago, the power of nostalgia, the nostalgia of the living moment. This beauty, this joy, this eruption of gratitude for just being alive, being here. And when you go really, really deep inside, you discover this place that some people describe as eternal. You go inside and you go, this is so wondrous. And the hope and prayer, you can make it a belief system or you will discover it for what it reveals itself to be. But the hope and prayer ultimately is that that joy inside is your infinite nature, your eternal resting place, the beauty of your being. You know, religions promise us that. I've gotten to the point where I can't promise you anything. I can only tell you that moment to moment to moment, something remarkable is going on, and I would never have learned about any of it if I hadn't met Rudi. You know, I was coming back from India. I looked at all these teachers, all claiming enormous capacities and things that they could give me, but I didn't believe it. I didn't believe it for a lot of reasons, but one of the reasons was my gut said no. They're preaching something that they don't even know. They're just talking. They're talking something that's thousands of years old, and therefore it has the value and the weight and the intensity of history and of philosophy and of theology. But the thing I loved about Rudi when I met him is he just taught me how to be a human being. He taught me how to be myself, or more importantly, how to find that self so I could be it. He worked tirelessly for me. You know, I mean, this is crazy. I wanted to be a writer. He knew I wanted to be a writer. I wanted to write plays, and he did this thing. I've talked about it before. He wrote something like 20 songs. They weren't very good, but they were 20 songs. And he said, here, write a musical. Write a musical. And it was the first thing that I wrote. And it was like he tried to give me this career. And he did it with so much love and so much beauty and joy. And it never happened, but we had so much fun putting it together. We had two guys in class who were musicians, and they helped work on the music, and I kept working on the story, and then we sat down and we had a sing through of all of the songs. And I tell you, it was the beginning of a career. Why did my spiritual teacher write songs for me to turn into a musical? And you know, 30 years later, I actually did a musical and it was on Broadway. You know, it would never have happened without Rudi. Rudi cared about every one of us. He gave every one of us what we needed in the way that we needed it. I can only talk about me, you know, and I can talk about my life with Blanche, because I met Blanche and Rudi, I believe, on the same day. When I introduced Blanche to Rudi a short time later, she became, in a sense, impregnated with this same energy. And at one point, she decided that I probably wasn't the right person for her, and she went to Rudi and said, I think I should go move on. And he said, why? He said, you're only going to meet another schmuck just like him. So just stick with him. And she did, you know, and that another gift in my life. And it really was and remains that 50 years next year, you know, that's a long life. And that's the kind of day-to-day humanity that Rudi would bring to the teaching. I only knew him for 7 years. I mean, he died in a plane crash. Bo, who's sitting here right now, was piloting the plane. You know, it was a tragic event on some basic level. on another level, it was the liberating moment, liberating for Rudi and for all of us, because what we had to learn in that moment, which is something you all have to learn, is no one takes you there. They inspire, they instruct, they will help you find your path, but you have to do it. You're the one. Nobody else will do it for you. You can sit around and get all the teachers you want, but in the end, you climb that mountain by yourself. So it's really, really important to know somewhere along the way, in the way that Rudi told us, this is your life. Get your act together, have a full life, enjoy it, try to find a kind of open-heartedness and open-mindedness and open-belliness that allows you to really live a life that is balanced and harmonious and working, manifest it as a physical reality, have a good real life, and then have a good inner life. And those two will work around each other and give you fullness. Fullness and joy and love and completeness. And you will not believe how absolute rich and open you will become to life itself, because you are working from the inner outer and from the outer inner. And that's a great, great practice. We've all been very blessed to share this. I can't believe all these years later we're still talking Rudi. You know, I don't know that that always happens, but I know this man had a huge impact on my personal daily life. And I am grateful for it. It continues to this moment. It speaks through me. Every one of you who's hearing me now is hearing what Rudi was speaking and everything he would have said, because there's no Bruce in this, and there's not even a Rudi in it. There's just this unbelievable flow of energy and love and consciousness and compassion that wants one thing: to make you whole. To make you a whole, realized person. That's the journey we're on. So I'm going to show you a movie. Those of you who are listening to this tape and don't know Rudi, you can watch these things online. Just look up Rudi, and you will find little pieces of what I'm going to show here. And this is a movie made by Bob Sink many years ago. I was one of the cameramen in the early days that shot this film with money from Patty Gaetano. She's had many names, but Patty Gaetano, whose father gave us the money to make this film way, way back. It's about Muktananda's visit. That was Rudi's teacher at the time. Muktananda was a disciple of Nityananda, as was Rudi, and they were in a way brothers in a continuum of energy manifestation that came out of India, not far from Bombay, in a place called Ganeshpuri. This energy is a wild, vibrant form of Kundalini Yoga that was called Kashmir Shaivism. This movie will demonstrate who Rudi was. I think it's an extraordinary thing that we were able to capture, and you will come away from this film knowing who he was. So thank you guys for coming. I really, really deeply appreciate it, and we'll do this again next year. Also, I should tell you, Bob Sink, as a gift, sent us copies of this DVD of the Rudi movie for everyone. And it's sitting on the counter outside when you walk in. When you leave today, take your own copy, and you will have access to this video whenever you want it. So it's our gift, Bob's gift really, to everybody here. And please feel free to watch it every year, whether you are here or not. Okay? Thank you guys again for coming.